By now, you've seen the video. Members of Oklahoma University's Sigma Alpha Epsilon chanting a racist song. It sparked protests on campus and outrage across the country. The university's president swiftly condemned the racist display and shut down the fraternity indefinitely. But while such vile acts of hate are shocking to see, sadly they are a new incarnation of old practices steeped in our country's racist past. Author and NYU professor Robert Cohen says the SAE chant is eerily familiar to segregationist fraternity chants heard in the 50s and 60s.
It was sort of like you put the same chant. It's not exactly the same, but very close in a time capsule, and transported it from the 20th century to the 21st. And so I think that, from my perspective, the issue was the survival of this kind of racism, and how is that even possible?
And while most of the focus has been on the video and chant, the fraternity's failure to integrate is perhaps the larger issue.
Why is the fraternity not desegregated right now? I mean, why aren't there African American members? Why should people be, this kind of sense of entitlement to sing these kind of racist chants in an all-white environment at a state university that's supported by tax dollars? Unlike
segregationist fraternities of the past, it's been observed that at least in SAE's case, the shameful acts were done in private. Many see it as a reminder that a post-racial America has not been realized.
Most people understood racism as institutional racism, something that expressed itself through inequality in a police department, in lending institutions. But then there was this hard push on the part of conservatives and some liberals to shrink the definition to only individual acts of hatred or expressions of hatred. And when you do that, you essentially disconnect yourself from the past.
A lot of people aren't aware of the institutionalized racism that we face here as minorities on campus.
Well, they will not be judged by the color of their skin.
Scholars say to focus on individual acts of racism does little to tackle a problem so ingrained and systemic.
Because we look at racism only as individual expressions of hatred, we don't see that history. And so every time something comes up, we see it as something brand new that just came out of nowhere. We don't know where it came from. But the fact of the matter is, it's been there. We've chosen not to see it.
People look at me like I'm crazy. People look at my do-rag. They judge me on sight.
OU now holds regular meetings for black students to express concerns.
Let's start supporting each other.
The university is also hiring a vice president to focus on diversity, one new step toward dealing with an old and deeply rooted problem. Andre Showell reporting for BET.